Welcome to Squatch-D where the truth is first before all else. Join your hosts, veteran investigator, TV personality, and author Steve Kulls, and from the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Project and the Kentucky Fried Fixes channel, Chris Bennett. Sit back and prepare to take yourself on a journey with the longest-running Bigfoot podcast, Squatch-D. Here are your hosts, Steve and Chris.
And good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to Squatch-D for today's date, January 8th, 2025. I'm your host, your guide, the Squatch Detective Steve Kulls, along with my co-host right down there, Mr. Chris Bennett. How are you tonight, Chris?
Steve, it's good to see you, man. I am cold. We are having some really cold weather here in Kentucky, and it's cold and achy. I mean, it's not like we hadn't got like 6 feet of snow on the ground or anything, but we've been getting some snow pretty regularly, just enough to mess up the roads.
Well, I know you guys down there, you get a quarter of an inch, it closes the state.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Us, it takes about 3-4 feet of snow. Then we start worrying.
Right. The parents probably are, having more trouble than anybody else because the kids are out of school.
Knock wood. Yeah. But the most snow we've seen here at one given time was like that first snowstorm where we got like 8 inches.
Yeah.
And that all disappeared within a few days. And that was back early. That was back in November.
Yeah. Well, the snow, we could get all the snow, we could ask for it, and I would be fine with that. I just don't want that ice. And that's the problem that we have in this area. We get ice. And luckily, Sunday we got some. And the trees are like, looks like Christmas again. All nice, icy covered trees. But it warmed up enough Monday that it kind of melted off.
Yep. Well, it isn't warmed up here enough in like a couple of weeks. It's been cold since Christmas.
Oh, yeah. We got.
Well, no, I can't say that. Before the cold snap, we did have a spell where it was about 50 degrees.
Yeah.
It was for a couple of days, and then bang, it got cold, and it's still supposed to be cold through next week.
Yeah, it's this Arctic air, coming in from the jet stream, and there should be a law against that. The jet stream needs to be, stay up there.
No,
leave us alone.
No, it's amazing when you guys get pounded.
Yeah,
with that kind of weather.
Mm.
We've had a windy day today. That's it. We got the polar stuff going. It's cold, but when it gets really cold, it doesn't tend to precipitate too much.
Yeah. Well, I kind of live, really Kentucky's not considered the South, but it is, again, it is, because we're south of the roughest weather, and just, the line I consider up there in Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio around through there. That's where.
Hold on. I wouldn't say that you're south of the roughest weather, because I'll tell you what, tornadoes and hurricanes are a lot rougher than snow, and that's way south.
Oh yeah. We got plenty of tornadoes now. Not even hurricanes.
Yeah. So you're north of the hurricanes. Right in the middle of tornado country, almost.
Yeah, that's okay, man. Those things come through every now and then. It's all right. It's better than dealing with this crap. Cool.
Yeah.
I think 17 now and supposed to get down to 11 tonight. Oh, no.
11 degrees. Oh, 11 degrees. That's just horrible. Yeah, shit.
But, hopefully, I've got enough antifreeze in the vehicles that nothing freezes up and gives me any problem. I would prefer to live further south, but, that didn't happen. So we're in Kentucky now. But it'll be all right. I mean, people have got it worse everywhere.
Every morning you can hear Chris's car starting up. Yep, that's Chris starting the car.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, welcome one and all. Welcome to all our new subscribers here on Squatch-D TV. We always like to have a little fun, of course.
Oh,
Tonight we have a new Bigfoot report that I'm not going to say, I'm keeping names out of it, but the gentleman who runs the social media group said I'm free to use it. So I'm using it. I've edited just a few sentences in the report to leave out any type of location. We will say this: it's in the Mid-Atlantic states, so on the East Coast. So this comes from the Mid-Atlantic states on the East Coast. Tonight's report, and it's hey, we're gonna show it to everybody. We're gonna read it. And we're going to have a nice little discussion about it and my thoughts as an interviewer and an interrogator about it. So, but first, what we always do, of course, around here is we do the roll call in chat to say hi to all our folks in. And first in tonight was Sharon. Hello, Sharon. First person in from Belgium. Hey, Sharon, good to see you. Pete H. Hello, Pete. Mitch Hargrove, good to see you. Walter Kroll.
Walter.
Relic comment and our friend from across the pine. Hello there. I know you're not listening right now, but you will be catching it tomorrow morning. So
that's going to replay there. Right?
Yep.
Appreciate you showing up, saying hi.
Wow. Karen Fisher. Hello, Karen Fisher. Grasshopper. Bristol. What's going on? Roy Longley. Hello, Roy. Sandra Piper. Roy. Angel Nolan, what's happening? Jen, what's going on? The Susie Monster. Hello, Susie. Mick, what's happening? Joe Meldrum, Joe Bigfoot Meldrum. Chet, why not? Hello, Chet. Good to see you again. Arthur Watch. Hello, Arthur. Don Gumow is in the house. Mike Stetton. Hello, Mike. Good to see you. There's the mighty Mick. Mick is in the house. Mick, what's going on? The Howler. I love that name. The Howler is in the house.
That's a good one.
The Beatron. Hello, Beatron. Good to see you. North Jersey Footer. Hello, North Jersey Footer.
Welcome.
Of course, my hometown. Well, my place of birth, Teaneck, New Jersey. Lived my first 3 years of life in New Milford, New Jersey, also in Bergen County. Who else? Laughing Picker. Hello. Good to see you again.
Welcome.
And all right, here we are.
New Jersey gets a bad rap, man, because I mean, people from New York will kind of look down on New Jersey. But I'll tell you what, I have driven all through New Jersey, and it is a beautiful state. I love it. Matter of fact, the parts that I really didn't like was the ones that was up there close to New York City. But it's beautiful, man. I mean, it is. It's beautiful. When I'm driving through the countryside, I'm looking at trees and grass and stuff and fields, cows, and I'm like, well, this is just like Kentucky. Maybe not as many hills, but pretty similar. But beautiful, beautiful state.
Oh, Pat Collins would be here, but his video card died on his computer. He just texted me.
Oh, Pat, sorry, man.
So,
sorry to hear that.
So Mick has a question in the chat. How do you say Bigfoot in Flemish? And Flemish is the official language of Belgium.
I don't know.
I do. Anyway, that was too easy.
With the drum thing too. Yeah. Flemish. Well, I'm not really good with languages.
Well, a lot of people don't realize that probably half the people that work in New York are from New Jersey.
Yeah.
Remember, New Jersey, all the working rights to New York City, but none of the taxes.
Yeah. And what was that show on HBO? Those gangsters in New Jersey, The Sopranos. Yeah, that was awesome, man. I love that show.
Yep.
I wish they still had it. Matter of fact, they should do a reboot of it.
Well, what they did do is they did use James, of course, James Gandolfini, who played Tony Soprano, passed away, but his son played him in I think the Mighty Saints of Newark, or the Saints of Newark. And that was a spin-off movie of The Sopranos.
Oh,
right.
Well, they could do that. They could do like a.
Well, they did. They did.
Oh, okay. I missed it.
And Tony's person he looked up to was played by, of course, Ray Liotta, who passed away shortly after that too.
Yeah, I hate to hear that too.
Yeah, Ray Liotta died way too young.
All the best gangster guys are passed away. You know, I hate that.
Yeah, I mean, the guy who played Paulie, he passed away. That was Tony Sirico.
Oh, didn't know that.
Yeah, the guy who played Paulie, he passed away about a year ago, maybe 2.
Oh well.
Of course, one of the younger guys, actually, Dominic Chianese, who played Uncle Junior, he's still kicking around. Okay. And a lot of people don't know that Dominic Chianese is a singer. He's actually a crooner. And he sings a lot of Italian songs. And Chianese also played in the original movie The Godfather as well. He played a role in there too.
Very cool.
Yeah. And of course, Michael Imperioli, who played Chris, Tony's cousin, Chris Maldonado, he was in Goodfellas. And he was killed by Joe Pesci's character. He played, I forget the name he played in Goodfellas, but he played kind of like the slow bartender in the movie The Goodfellas. And he finally told Joe Pesci to go off, and Joe Pesci shot him.
That was the end of him. Oh, well, yeah. Gangster movies.
Spider. That was who he played in Goodfellas. Spider.
Yeah, gangster movies can tend to be a little violent, but you know,
just a little bit. Anyway, so anyway, Joe Pesci pretty much retired a number of years ago. So, of course, my favorite all-time movie has been so many good movies. One of my favorites, though, was My Cousin Vinny.
Oh yeah, love it.
And you know what? Between him and Fred Gwynn, who played the judge, you know, and Fred Gwynn, for those who don't know, is Herman Munster.
Yes.
And unfortunately, Fred Gwynn passed away a number of years ago. But what a great movie!
Hilarious movie. Love it.
Excuse me. Did you say Ute?
Yeah.
What in the world is it? No. Actually, my favorite line in that movie is, "Are you mocking me?"
Yeah. That was good, man.
That suit. Are you mocking me with that suit?
Fred Gwynn was a heck of an actor, you know, and he didn't do too much stuff after he was cast as Herman Munster.
Well, he did. A lot of people don't remember him in the original Stephen King adaptation of Pet Sematary.
Yeah, I remember.
Fred Gwynn was in that one as well.
Yeah, he had that really
serious role. Yeah.
Really strong. What was it? Is it like a Maine accent or something, or a really strong New England accent? Okay, he was like, you know. No,
not really. He had quite the his own unique type of, you know, because you know, we've had Dave McCullough on the show, and that's the New England accent. You know, I come from the harbor over there by the bar, and. Even my buddy John Wilk from Squatchdetective doesn't even have that type of accent.
It was great. It was great, though. I loved it.
So,
well, we better get back onto this Bigfoot.
Onto this Bigfoot thing.
All right, guys, we get to talking, and then next thing you know, it's half past the hour.
And I know, and just so you know, tonight's show is being brought to you by the Grisha School of Driving, where, you know, if you have a lead foot, Grisha's got the Bigfoot. Anyway, off to our main topic tonight. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Did you
Add
want
that in there?
Did you want that? Here. There you go. All right. We got a new rim shot today.
Better late than never. That's good.
Right. Yeah, Grant Rasha says when people ask me my address, I tell them it's 1313 Mockingbird Lane. Only you know the reference.
Yeah, that's true. Grant, you're an old fart too.
Yes. All right, here's a quick trivia question for the chat room. So at 1313 Mockingbird Lane, there was a secret hatch where the Munsters' pet was kept under the staircase. What was the name of the pet?
I know. Yeah.
What was the name of the pet? Ah, there it is. Grant's got it. Spot. That's right.
Yep. Spot. Exactly. Oh yeah.
And of course,
Spot.
Yep. And of course, who can remember the comedian Stephen Wright? Yeah, he goes, I poured spot remover on my dog. Now he's gone. Anyway.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of Munsters fans here. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thanks, guys. Man, I'll tell you what, I don't feel so bad now. I was kind of like feeling kind of old.
Yeah. All right.
Everybody grew up watching the Munsters. Reruns, anyway. Reruns.
Oh yeah. I mean, we were all just little kids, and they were all in the.
Most of them are in black and white.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, this one, let's get into this Bigfoot sighting report here. It says, I encountered 2 Bigfoot with my dog, not named Spot, by the way. The creature was massive, about 10 feet tall, with a massive muscular body, black fur and hair, bipedal, red eyes, very intimidating, and aggressive posture during the encounter. It showed its teeth and made noises only my dog reacted to. We were 50 feet away. My dog got between me and the creature and stood her ground to protect me. Our encounter lasted, I guess, about 5 minutes, and then it turned and ran back toward the neighbor's property. I was skeptical until my encounters. My very first encounter was on my property from about 12 feet away. It was standing by a tree in my yard. The same creature, same features. I was in the basement bedroom looking out our bay window. It was looking at me and look at me standing next to my patio. We looked at each other for about 5 minutes, and then it just walked away, back down in the gully on my property. I tell this memory not to draw attention to myself or to ridicule, but only to say the creature is real. If you are still skeptical, that's good because people can be dishonest, but I hope that you eventually have your encounter. You will be in awe, perplexed, and amazed, plus a little shell-shocked. But one thing is for sure, you'll come away enlightened, but still have a lot of questions. I'm sure I will have another encounter again one day. Now, he continues to answer some questions and said it had black hair except around the eyes. Its skin seemed blackish gray. Its hands and feet were massive too. All I can tell you is that it left an eerie impression on me and my dog. Really? Did you ask your dog?
Well,
excuse me, Watson. What's your impression of? No, never mind. Since that day, my dog is always wary and looks toward the neighbor's property and acts a little anxious. Well, the black creature made an aggressive stance and made a growl-like noise, and it showed its teeth. I could tell it was a big male. The massive chest, arms, and legs were very muscular. It stood erect, not hunched over. Its skeletal structure looked more human, and when it ran and walked, its gait was more human-like. His arms were long, muscles were massive. His head was rounded, slightly peaked. His stride was long. He was quiet when he moved. Me and my dog were close enough that we could see a lot of detail. My dog saw the creature and first stopped abruptly, hair bristled up, and barked aggressively to protect me. At first, I said, "Leave the deer alone." Then I looked up and I saw what she was protecting me from. I stood there in awe, kind of dumbfounded at first, and then I just observed while trying to keep my dog from breaking her leash. My dog was in an aggressive stance if she was going to be attacked. At first, I could not believe that it was actually happening. Was I a little nervous? Yes, because I did not know what it was, if it was going to charge us. It acted as if it was thinking about mock charging us. How do you know a Bigfoot's thinking? But instead, it showed its teeth and made a sound. Then it ran away after a few minutes. When I'm outside, I observe. I listen a lot of times. I'm just in the back of my property, just feeding chickens or doing stuff in the yard or managing my property, blah, 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 blah. Rest is all kind of managing my deer plots. I just stay aware of my surroundings, listening and looking while maintaining my property. Yes, there are a few notable contradictions. Yes, there are a few notable contradictions here.
Well, you know, my first impression is the behavior doesn't sound right from the dog. That was my first impression.
Right.
We had, you know, on the home farm there, it runs right alongside Blue Springs Creek, and that was a I don't know if I want to say migration path, but it was definitely a travel corridor in the spring, early spring and late fall for these creatures. And we had a border collie dog, which, you know, I consider them to be the most intelligent breed of dogs, because this dog actually could understand English. You give her instructions in English and she would carry them out, just like any human would, you know. And one particular night, well, it was about 2 a.m., one of these things went through and screamed, squalled, and it rattled the windows of the old farmhouse. It was so close and it was so loud. Rattled the windows. And this dog was not scared of anything. Matter of fact,
Right.
She was a biter. We had to, if anybody came up, you know, to the back door there, they couldn't get near the back porch without getting bit. So we had a lot of problems with her biting people. But this particular night,
that's kind of funny because, you know, the little one here, until he had his little operation, he was a humper. He met you for the first time. Within like 3 to 5 minutes, he's trying to go after your leg.
Well, this border collie, she was a biter, and believe me, she would get you. If somebody pulled up, we had to hurry up and get outside, because if we weren't outside, she would bite whoever pulled up. But anyway, you know, she did not want any part of that squalling creature. She tried to get in the back door. She was whimpering and you know, wanting to get in, upset. She was anything but brave. And so when I see that this guy's dog has bristles stood up on its back and it was protecting him from the Bigfoot, I don't know. That just doesn't seem to mesh with that the lady, you know, and you know, she's smart. She was smart. The border collie, she was smart. So that behavior doesn't line up with hers.
Well, I guess what I'm looking at in this report, it seems to be some contradictions.
Yeah, I know.
You know,
go ahead.
It says, you know, it had red eyes. Well, that's very unusual for a creature to have red eyes. You know, to me, it sounds like the guy was reading some Bigfoot reports where there's some red eye shine, right? There's no mention of what time of day this is or night, right? But I would assume it's daytime because they were 50 feet away. And he saw all this intricate detail, and there's no mention of a flashlight.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't want to take your dog walking, traveling in the woods at night.
Well, interesting. Danny Week says border collies equal intelligence to a platypus. Very good. and you know, just another little fact, they're both marsupials also. Anyway.
Danny, if they are, that would be frightening, because border collies are scary smart.
But they come from the same part of the world, though. Really, border collies were originally Australian.
Didn't know that.
I believe so. Yes.
Well, they're pretty smart. Pretty smart.
But, they were 50 feet away, but he's saying, oh, it's about 10 feet tall. So it seems a little exaggerated. The height seems slightly exaggerated. The red eyes got me. Said it had a rounded head. Said it had a rounded head, but it was a little peaked. Well, that's a contradiction of itself.
Well, yeah, that's kind of like saying it was wet, but it was very dry.
Yeah, well, it was dry, but it had slight dampness. Right.
The head was rounded, but it was peaked.
Saw the creature first up, and barked aggressively. So, according to him, now that the dog is standing there, then it's got in between him, but now the dog is barking and leash.
Right.
It seems like the story is not very consistent, which when you're making up a story tends to happen quite a bit. That is huge. He acts like it acted as if he was thinking about mock charging us. Well, exactly how do you know what a Bigfoot's thinking, mock charging? I mean, was it, you said it was standing up straight, but if it's going to charge you, wouldn't it kind of be hunched? I don't know. It showed its teeth. Like that, or how did it show its teeth?
Well, that kind of sounds like a grimacing, thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, but and again, this could be from reading other people's reports and other primates, like a chimpanzee or a gorilla will. They get this grin on their face, but it's not really a grin. It's and that's a sign of not aggressiveness.
Right, it's fear.
It's a sign of fear or nervousness.
Yes.
Right. It said it ran off, and that's bizarre in of itself because usually Bigfoots don't run off; they walk off. Right. And of course, here's some of the more obvious contradictions. The deer condition initially says to the dog, leave the deer alone, like the dog knows what he's talking about, but suggesting he first thought it was a deer, but then in his first comment, he already describes a very undeer-like creature, black hair. I mean, how can you, all right, so, I looked up. Well, you're looking down and the dog's acting like, don't leave the deer alone, like they're deer. How do you know they're deer? Again, psychologically makes no sense. Like I said,
you got to kind of give him a little bit on that. If he saw his dog's reaction before he saw the creature, he might have thought his dog was reacting to a deer. It's possible.
Yeah, but it just seems strange. You're walking along with your dog who's on a leash. Right. You mentioned the dog's on a leash. Yeah. That's very convenient because if you're on a big property, right? And we already know that what else is on the property? Chickens, right? I understand why the Bigfoot's not bothering the chickens, right? Right? But mind you, he's walking his dog amongst all the chickens. We don't know what type of dog it is, but apparently, it could be a schnauzer for crying out loud.
Maybe it was a vicious Yorkie. You never know.
Well, Yorkies, let's face it, they can think they're like 10 feet tall.
Yeah. Yeah, they sometimes they're a lot braver than they should be.
Grant said maybe it was a vegan Bigfoot. Yeah. And then they looked at each other for 5 minutes. Oh, yeah. And again, here we go again with the psychology. This time we're going to reverse it, right? Would a Bigfoot stand there for 5 minutes and then run off like it's in fear?
I wouldn't think so.
Is a dog going to sit there and growl and bark for 5 minutes or something? I mean, just thinking. So for 5 minutes, he's standing there. The dog is, and he's doing all he can to keep the dog on the leash, as he says. And the dog is and you're going to stand there for 5 minutes. No,
Probably not.
none of this makes psychological sense again.
That part doesn't make sense.
Right. The creature's behavior is described inconsistently. First, it's described as making threatening moves, aggressive stance, growling, showing teeth, considering charging, but is also being quiet and moving silently, which seems somewhat contradicted by the same encounter.
Well, the thing is, if he did run up on this creature, and the dog had a reaction like it was barking and growling and stuff, to me, I don't think his encounter would have been 5 minutes. It may have been 5 seconds, because once the dog was reacting that way, the creature would have probably just turned around and walked away. Because he knew his cover had been blown. He had been seen. The creature had been seen, so he's not going to stick around.
Bristol says, kind of getting that trial AI app story vibes from this one. Not really. It's too inconsistent. AI wouldn't be that inconsistent in making a story out. It would sound very succinct, very organized, very concise. No, this is all over the place. It's here, it's there, it's going back to there. Mind you, this isn't just one story being posted. This is a series of posts. He was being questioned and asked about, and he was making comments. That is probably the best way for somebody to get to the truth of the matter, because now you're seeing some of these inconsistencies in the story. And what that's telling us is the guy made the initial story up. He's having trouble keeping his story straight, right?
Well, to me, the dog's behavior doesn't seem.
Well, his behavior doesn't seem right either.
Yeah.
When you think about it, he's standing and the dog is trying, pulling and yanking on the leash, right?
Right.
But yet, while the dog is doing all this distracting behavior, right? And mind you, he's got, and you got chickens in the background, right? And he's looking at the Bigfoot, right? He's getting all this detail when all this stuff is going on around him, right? Incredibly astute observations.
Yes.
From somebody who is in fear, who's 50 feet away, that the thing looks like it's going to charge him. Looks like it's taking an aggressive stance. His dog is acting like an idiot. And he's got other livestock on the property. May I also make a note too, is that he switches pronouns quite a bit, referring to the creature as it and he multiple times, even within the same paragraph, almost like he didn't make up his mind until the very end. He's calling it, and then he says, well, it's got to be a he, and then I guess finally is that in later comments he talks about being observant of nature. He presents himself as someone who is always very aware of his surroundings, right?
Yes.
Well, that's what I'm saying. How did he say, oh, leave the deer alone? And you look up and there's a Bigfoot standing there. Right. Doesn't sound like he's very observant of his surroundings, as they're very aware of his surroundings. Because he mentions the dog acting, he's mentioning that. He doesn't mention that the livestock were quiet, because I don't know if anybody's had chickens before, but they're not the quietest bunch of, if you got chickens, you also got roosters too. And if you got chickens wandering around, let's just say he doesn't have roosters. The chickens are still clucking and pecking each other.
I don't know how they would be like hanging out in the woods either. I mean, usually chickens don't hang out in the woods.
No, but it's on his property, and he doesn't say he's in the woods, right? Because then he says he takes off and runs towards his neighbor's property.
Okay.
Right. So, obviously he lives near some cover, but...
Yeah. Well, the first part, the deer confusion, I think I could give him a little leeway on that, because if he just saw his dog's reaction before looking up and seeing the creature,
I'm not buying it, because if you're walking around with the dog on a leash and the dog starts going, I'm going to look at the dog, and then make the comment about deer. Why would you make a comment about deer if you're not aware of your surroundings?
More than likely, I would probably look up to see what the dog was going
Right,
after.
right. So it makes no psychologically. Why would you say that? It makes no sense. If you're not looking up, and you know, it's like, oh, then I looked up. Well, what were you doing walking? You're walking around like this.
Hey, I've seen that. I've seen that. A lot of people do that.
But then again, this man, admittedly, is you know, very aware of his surroundings and very observant of nature.
Yeah.
Right. And then again, like Pete H says, this goes on for 5 minutes. And that in of itself is like, all right, it lasted a minute and a half. It lasted 2.5 minutes. 5 is just such a kind of generic rounded number. It sounds fake in of itself.
Okay. Now, my personal opinion that it's if you have a sighting up to 2 minutes, that's a heck of a long sighting. That's really man. You couldn't ask for nothing better. You know, to observe one for 2 minutes.
Right.
Usually, I think it's going to be a whole lot less.
And usually, when you get something that's over, unless you're sitting in a tree stand, right, and you're watching the thing moving along the ridge line or something like that. If you're having a face-to-face encounter with a Bigfoot,
right,
anything over a minute or two, now we're starting to get in imagination land, and it seems to be that every single report I have ever gotten that was longer than, say, 3 minutes was complete and utter bullpucky. Because guess what? Those creatures are not going to stand around, especially if it's taking an aggressive stance. And you have a dog, right? Right? It's not going to stand around. It's going to look at you and it's going to keep on hoovering, right? Mind you, it's not on its territory, so it's not going to act aggressively because it's not in its territory. It's actually in your territory, and it's doing something either ranging or looking for food or whatever. It's not just hanging out. Right. I don't believe these things do anything without purpose. Right. What they do is, and that would make sense. You got to understand a creature of that size, the energy expounded on activity is going to have a purpose.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you know, my belief.
Ever notice a dog? Reason why they lay around a lot. Right. The reason why they lay around is they're not expending useless energy.
Right.
Right.
Well, it's my belief that once you have an encounter with
Martin, please don't call them clans. Clans refer to groups of humans and familiar ties, not anything to do. Maybe when they're in troops, pods, groups, but not clans. Clans is anthropomorphization of the Bigfoot, and do not do that.
It's my personal opinion that if you're out and you have an encounter with one of these creatures, you're in the woods, you see a Bigfoot, or you're somewhere, you see a Bigfoot. If you look at it and you start pointing your finger at it and acknowledging that you see it, it's going to just immediately disappear. It's going to go. It's going to walk away.
Right.
It's gone. My I want to say technique is if I see one, I'm looking anywhere except directly at that creature. I'm looking if he's right ahead of me, I'm looking over here. Oh my goodness! Check out the woods over there. That's very nice. I don't see it. No, it's not in front of me.
Mick says from the get-go, that report sounds more like a story someone's trying to write and hand in for marks in school for a grade. I don't think so. And the reason why is me and my dog were close enough. Let's look at that from a English grammatical standpoint. The proper terminology should be my dog and I were close enough, not me and my dog were close enough. Remember, the way to properly break down a sentence is let's take out the other object. So do we say me were close enough that we could see, right? No, you would say I was close enough, right? So the whole me and my dog, that's not proper English.
Yes.
And he does that another time too. My dog and me. No, you wouldn't do that. My dog and I.
Yeah. So he's not going to be graded on his grammar.
That's right. Steve, thank you for the little set the timer.
5 minutes for a Bigfoot sighting is an eternity. I just can't even imagine it. I mean,
Right.
you know.
You know what? I'll tell you what. I was baking a little piece, putting a slice of frozen apple pie in my air fryer tonight.
Yeah.
And I had it on for 5 minutes.
Oh.
And God, it seemed like such a long time because I wanted to get at that pie. Right.
Oh, life is rough. Baking fresh apple pie.
Well, I'm not saying fresh apple pie, it was frozen.
Oh, okay, well, it's good enough. Yeah. Throw it in the air fryer and it's good to go right out of the oven.
Right up. Yep.
But that's a long time to have a Bigfoot encounter. That's a long time. Most Bigfoot encounters last probably less than 15 seconds. You know, and
so apparently Pat is out there listening to the show.
Oh, okay. Hey, Pat.
Pat texted me and says maybe he wrote the encounter from the Sasquatch point of view.
Well, you know, I wasn't there, so I can't say. But to me, I don't like the way the dog's behavior was described. That's about the only thing I can say about it. I don't like this one because of the description of the dog's behavior.
Right.
And whether this guy had a sighting or not, I really can't say.
Well, he's had 2 sightings. Apparently, remember the other one he saw the basement window? Was it the basement window?
But I will say that
my very first encounter was on my property from about 12 feet away. It was standing by a tree in my yard. The same creature, same features. It was in the I was in the basement radio. All right, see, and there's a contradiction right there in itself too. My very first, tell me, where is the contradiction? My very first encounter was on my property from about 12 feet away. It was standing by a tree in my yard. The same creature, same features. I was in the basement bedroom looking out our bay window. Who has a bay window in their basement? Who has a bay window in their basement?
Well, that would be odd. Yes, that would be odd.
Right. It was looking at me standing next to my patio. Wait a minute. You just said it was in a tree. It was by a tree in your yard. So do you have a tree on your patio too?
Well, now a patio would definitely be on the ground level floor. So I'm not sure about the terminology there. He's in the basement or in his ground level floor.
Right. And again, Grant, only in about 10% of the cases is a smell report. I mean, I've had 2 sightings. I didn't smell it on my sightings. When I heard it walk around me and I got before it and cast, I smelled it then. So, smell either way, it depends on a couple of factors, whether or not it could be a pheromone release, or an olfactory gland that lets loose under stress, or it could be just a bad hygiene Bigfoot at the time. So,
well, and if he's got a tree within 12 feet of his house, that's too close. He's going to have problems there. I can tell you. 12 feet near your home is too close for a tree.
None of it makes sense at all.
When they grow up, get bigger, you'll have problems.
And that paragraph is probably best at summing up whether or not this is truthful or not. A bay. You have a bay window in your basement. What do you have, a moat around your house? I don't get it.
I know a patio is on the ground floor because your patio is on the ground. Okay, So he's not going to have a patio in his basement. Maybe it's terminology. Maybe he's using.
Yeah, and Roker Gepta. Hello, Roker. Good to see you again, sir. Says the house is on uneven ground, allowing, perhaps. Yeah, but what really throws me is he says it's standing in my yard next to a tree. That's not consistent with being 12 feet away. And then he says it's on the patio. So what is it? Is it on the patio or is it next to the tree out in the yard? Whatever it is, it sounds like he's just typing away, trying to get out a fast response or a fast answer in response to questions or commenting.
Could be like a split level home where he has a basement that also has an approach, like for a driveway and a garage or something. He may have a bay window and a patio out there.
It's possible, but I just don't. Yeah, I mean, a basement usually means a foundation, right? Yeah. My basement bedroom. So would you have a bedroom? A bedroom having a bay window is kind of unusual a lot of times.
Yeah, that's kind of odd. Usually, a bay window is like usually in the living room area, something, or maybe in the kitchen, dining room thing. But hey, it could be just a difference in the terminology there. He may be living in a split level home that has ground access at the basement. It's very possible at the basement level. So it's possible.
It's possible. I mean, it's possible.
But
what's really got me is it's standing in my patio, but a minute before it was standing in his yard next to a tree.
Yeah.
And he's only 12 feet away.
That's really, really close.
I mean, 12 feet away is
that's really close.
Right. And from me to the back wall is 7.5 feet.
Yeah.
Here. So you're talking maybe another 4.5 feet off of that.
I mean,
so
you're almost 6 feet tall. You lay down.
If I got my so 12 feet away is where my open door, where you see the bathroom door there.
Yeah.
That would be 12 feet away. Yeah. That's not very.
That's really close.
Right. As you can tell, the missus is at work tonight. That's why on Wednesdays the missus is at work. So that's why I can leave that door open and not hear a TV in the background or try to drown out any background noise.
Oh man. But now, that's really that's really close. 12 feet. Man, you could get a really good facial description from 12 feet away.
Right.
Really good. And that might be, where he could come up with could determine the skin color and stuff like that,
I don't know. The interesting thing is there's one would think, why would you start off with a story where it's 50 feet away, right?
Yeah.
When you've had an encounter before that one is 12 feet away.
Right. I would lead off with that one probably.
Right. Why does all the detail about the creature come from the 50-foot encounter, not the 12-foot encounter? I mean, there's just too many contradictions, too many holes in this story that I would be like, and this was posted in a group, and that's the reason why. Actually, the group admin asked me my opinion.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'll break it down a little more on the show when he let me do that. I said, but here's my initial report. And that's when I gave him about the gender confusion and the deer confusion and observation timeline and action description and activity claims. They're all very, there's contradictions. And that would lead me to believe that this story is not authentic. Is not true. It's somebody in a Facebook group trying to get a little notoriety, trying to elevate themselves within the group. Therefore, it's not to rib the group, but it's more for the person's own feeling of self-importance, self-gratification, and elevating themselves and wanting to belong to a group and being important within that group.
Well, yeah, but Steve, we should probably just say that there are some issues with the story rather than it didn't happen. You know what I mean? There are some red flags here.
I would say that, based, yeah.
Try to be gentle, okay? Gentle.
I'm being blunt and honest because I haven't named them.
Yes, I know.
Right. I can be blunt and honest when I'm not naming.
Okay.
I do not believe this happened. Right. That's my opinion. Okay. The facts strongly are behind me, in my opinion.
Yes.
Right. We will never know for sure. You can never know for sure what a person sees or does not see when there is no evidence.
Right.
Necessarily. Until you start breaking down some of the things. Example, the Bigfoot peeper. We had his story alone at first to discredit him, right?
Yeah, right.
Right. But then we also fact checked him. Yeah. Here, there is not enough fact in here to fact check him, right? We don't have a definitive address. We have an area, but we don't have a definitive address. We don't even have a date. We don't have a time. Because if we had a date and time when this occurred, then we could check the weather data to see if it'd be consistent with that type of activity. For example, if it was pouring rain out at the particular time he states it would happen, why was that not mentioned in the report? In fact, we have no atmospherical commentary on this. We have no geographical commentary other than just some very vague stuff. Yeah. We don't know if he's on an open area. We don't know if he's in a wooded area. He claims to have a patio. He claims to have chickens and livestock, and he claims to have deer feeders and stuff that he's working with deer on.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that would all be consistent with somebody that owns a little small area, like we call them baby farms around here. Just a house and a few acres. And
absolutely, Martin, methodology clears all that up. If somebody was to come to me and say, well, what time? And my first question was, well, when did this happen? Right. I want to know right away the baseline facts. A lot of people get their senses become overexcited sometimes, I should say. So when somebody comes up with a sighting report, the first question out of the mouth, well, did it do this? Did it look like that? How did it act this way? Whoa, time. When did this happen? What time did this happen? What was the weather out at this time?
Right.
Those are the first big three things. Where did this happen? Right. Yeah. So with those four things, right, I can start to verify if the story is being factual.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
That's where you need to start on any Bigfoot report.
Start at the beginning.
Well, you start
in the middle.
You start your math. You start your not your math, but you start your methodology with the facts.
Right. Exactly.
Who, what, when, where, and why. Now you may not know the why. Well, why could be, I was walking my dog in the woods. Okay, that's good enough for a why.
Sure.
The who, okay, we got the dog and that. We have the who and the why. But we don't have the what, where, and when, right? Because those three are super important. We have kind of the where. So I can do without the where for now. Mm-hmm. Because I have a general area. In fact, I have a very specific area where he says, okay, it's in the area of this town. That's why I omitted it, right?
Right.
So now if we have the who, or I'm sorry, the when, right? And what time, We have those two pieces of information, then we can begin to fact check. That's why those 5 pieces of information, who, where, when, where, why, are so important in any Bigfoot report. That's the first thing we should be asking, right?
No, right.
When somebody takes a photograph, how many people out there in Facebook land do not ask, what type of camera did you use? Right?
Right.
What type of video camera did you use? Right? If we don't have that bit of information, then we don't know the limitations or the expectations of that particular device.
Right.
And if that device is acting outside of that limitation, well, how did that happen? Right? So that's why it's so important to have all that bit of information.
Got to get the where, when, and why. That way you can know where they're at, when they were, and then you find out why they were there, and then you can check the weather. Right. Why were you walking your dog during a rainstorm?
Right.
Why were you walking your dog during a tornado?
Right.
So that breaks down. You get to the truth of the why.
Hello to Cryptic Crystal, who says this is one of her favorite channels. Well, thank you, Chris.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Crystal. Very nice of you. But yeah. You got to get to the truth. Or once you cipher through the facts, there you're going to get to the truth.
Right.
And this one ain't looking too good.
No. And then that's the other thing too is the group offered their assistants to come out to his property and to take a look around, and he went silent.
Oh, okay.
Which leads me to suspect, well, I'm not looking to publicize myself. Why you're posting it in the Facebook group?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, if there's something going on out there, maybe, private, could be a private person. You really can't fault them for that.
Well, if they're a private person, then they just wouldn't say nothing. They wouldn't publicly post under their real name in a Facebook group.
Yes, he would not be in the Facebook group if he was a private person.
Right. It was like that one person years ago who put a Bigfoot video on YouTube, and they said, well, I put it up there. I didn't want all this attention. Well, why'd you put it on YouTube?
Makes sense.
Right. Well, why? If you didn't want the attention, then you show your friends in your small groups and at your little dinner parties, but you don't put it publicly where millions of people can see it every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Grant says, why post it there? Bigfoot can't read it.
Yeah, I see that. It's pretty good. We don't think they can read, Grant.
All right. Well, we'll have to give him one of these for that one.
Good.
Well, anyway, Chris, we are at the hour already, so.
Oh, well, that was fast. But I thought this was a pretty good show, though. I enjoy talking about new sightings and stuff. And
turning it into a teachable moment.
Yeah.
That's what's so important about doing shows like this is the reminder of how this breaks down. When you look at the questioning in the Facebook groups, they're missing the marks.
Yeah.
The who, the what, the when, the where, and the why. Yeah. We know the who. We like I said, we know a few of them because they volunteered that. We know the who. It's a guy and his dog. We know the where, kind of, but we don't know is the when or the when or what time, and that's so important.
But it's a good effort. The truth is what I want to hear. I may not always like it, but when I speak or tell someone something, I want to be passing on facts, not fantasy. Very true, Chris.
Very true.
Yeah,
that's right.
Good point.
And the other point is that when we go forth with the real fact, and not fantasy and not stuff that can be contradicted, we kind of take the skeptics off guard. I'll take some of the skeptics' information.
Yeah.
Some of the skeptics come up with some of the best information at times.
Yeah.
Just because we don't necessarily like it, or it may not be. Let's face it. Say I am a guy that owns an oil company or an oil tanker, right? An oil tank. I own this oil tank. I have this environmentalist come over, and I may disagree with him diametrically on whatever. But if he comes up to me and says, "Hey, your oil tank is leaking," I may not like what the guy has to say 90% of the time, but he's giving me a fact.
Right.
My oil tank's leaking. I better fix it. Right.
Right. Yeah.
So when you look at that, it's why it's so important to listen to skeptics, and I just kind of frame that. Yeah. But anyway, we will be back Sunday night. Chris, do your thing.
Everybody, thank y'all. Everybody in chat, appreciate you guys hanging out with us on Wednesday. We're so honored to have you guys here. We know we got the greatest audience we could ever hope to have. Thank you so much. We're not worthy.
We're not worthy.
Your first night here, make sure to hit the subscribe button if you hadn't already, and smash that thumbs up button on the video. They tell us it helps the algorithm thing, whatever that does. Yeah, so do that. We appreciate you, and that way we can continue to bring you good Bigfoot research and the truth. That's the main thing.
That's it.
But thanks, guys.
Hey, folks, I appreciate everybody coming in here on a Wednesday night. It's a quick hour, man. That flies by. That's why I never remember we used to start this podcast on an hour show. And it used to just go by just like tonight did. Gone. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for showing up here tonight. We will catch everybody here Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern with an all-new Squatch-D TV. Until then, everybody, keep warm. Keep dry, and God bless anybody that's having trouble out there in California right now. A tough break with the fires. But anyway, we're all thinking about you, and everybody have a wonderful, wonderful week. We'll see you all just at the end, the bookend of the weekend. We'll see you all in a little bit. Love you guys. Power to the people.
We thank you for being here with us on Squatch-D TV. If you haven't taken the time yet, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And oh yes, hit that notification bell too. We don't want you to miss anything. If you really like our content, you should consider becoming a member. And it's really inexpensive and a great way to support not only the show, but honest Bigfoot research. Everyone have a great week. Be safe and God bless. We will see you all here next time on Squatch-D TV. Keep on squatching.